So the first thing that I did in my lesson this time was differentiate who everyone was working with, and even in our cohort, everyone always works with the same people. So I wanted to kind of change that up and have everyone work with people that they normally wouldn't choose.
So today, guys, we are going to talk. We're going to take a break from the Canterbury Tales first of all. So yay! We are going to talk about something that you guys have all been coming up to me and Mr. Neal all the time recently with your personal statements and your college essays, and you all have wonderful, wonderful ideas, and your essays are great, but there's one thing that I've noticed that a lot of them are lacking, and that is a good hook in the beginning, a good lead to all these essays.
I really wanted my mini lesson to be something authentic and kind of real world, especially for my particular senior classes who definitely have a lot of trouble actually getting into stuff if it's not something real.
What if I just put this on the board and was like, alright, see you guys. What would you want to know?
What's in a hot dog?
What's a hot dog? What's in a hot dog? I want to know more, right? Yeah. So this is something that we call a good lead. This is the very beginning of an article that William Zinsser wrote. I know you guys have his book that I gave you guys on writing well.
Right there, I also wanted to relate this lesson to a text that they already have, so that they could also reference something that they already have in their possession if they need to.
I think it kind of makes you want to know more. So we're going to look at some other good leads from some books that most of you guys I know have read, and if not, then, you know, hopefully this makes you want to read them. Discuss that lead that I just assigned to you. Why is it good? What about it makes you want to read more? Is it humorous, or is it suspenseful? Does it have some vivid description or something like that? What pulls you in? Okay. You guys are going to have a couple of minutes to look at that, and then we'll come back as a class to discuss. Okay.
So during this part, I really wanted to guide my students into figuring out what a good lead is. And one thing that I do wish I had done differently is to not include the title of the books on the handout that I gave them that had all of the examples of good leads. I think that it was kind of distracting, actually, to have the titles and, you know, have all these preconceived notions about the text, since, you know, there was something from Twilight and Hunger Games and some other girlier books like Speak. So maybe that's something I would change in the future. A good thing that I was doing during this part was writing down what each student was saying so that I could make a point to talk about it later in discussion. So I was really listening to what they were saying and writing down what they were saying, and I was actually able to reference a lot of that later when we were actually discussing what a good lead was.
We're going to come back together, guys, and go around to our tables and find out what is it about these passages that really made you connect with them or made you want to learn more. And can I have a volunteer to write some notes for me on the computer? I will. Thank you.
Right here, I really liked that I had Meg take notes for me, just a student volunteer, because in my last lesson, I just wrote the notes by myself on the board, and I had my back to my students a lot, which I don't like. So having Meg go up and take the notes, one, gets a student involved, and two, allows me to walk around the room and take notes and take more notice of what's going on in the classroom and who's saying what, you know, tracking participation, stuff like that. The downside to this part was that I think this was kind of the big failure part of my lesson, was that having this discussion didn't really make it a mini lesson. I think I could have skipped the discussion aspect in general, just because they would probably understand what makes a good lead after just discussing with their partners. So there wasn't really much need to go into this big, in-depth class discussion when they probably already understood what was going on. So I think I could have gone right to an activity, and that would have made it a little bit better.
So can you guys see, Meg, can you go over this a little bit? Give us a little recap of what we just heard about these.
Yep. One thing that I wrote down that every single person said was the questions that this brought up. And so in Speak, we wondered, why is she wearing something she hates? Why is she so extra nervous? And in Twilight, we wondered, why is your main character dying in the first sentence? And is this book going to be really super depressing? And in Hunger Games, we wondered, what is the reaping? And Audrey Waite, we wondered, who is Evan? And most of all, like, what is the song and why is it a happy song if they just broke up? And in The Giver, we wondered, why would December be so frightening? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, that's perfect. And we will be putting this up on your blackboard after class, so that you guys will have this to reference. But, so again, it's like this thing that captures your reader. And in a lot of your personal statements, I know you guys are having trouble with this. You don't really know how to begin. So right now we're going to work on something with a couple personal statement examples. You can sit down, Mike, and look at leads. We're going to try and write some leads, some hooks for a couple kind of generic personal statement examples that I can give you guys to help you guys work on this.
I really liked having Meg go over the notes. I know that might be kind of scary for an actual student, but hopefully if they were the ones volunteering to write the notes on the board anyway, then they'll be able to synthesize what they actually wrote down and explain it to the class. So I think that would be kind of a cool idea. Another thing, I remember when we were reflecting on the lessons actually in class, someone said, I think it might have been Dr. Cater, said that it would be a great idea for me to give them examples of bad leads and then have them fix them. It would kind of scaffold them into the process and be a more interesting way of going about this instead of just looking at different examples of personal statements and just trying to write them out. So maybe that would have been a better idea or a different way to go about it. So I might have to actually try that with my students sometime this week. But overall, I think the lesson went pretty well, but there are definitely some things I could change and that I will change when I actually do this in the classroom.